All right, hello. Yep, there we go. 1 second. I am dragging this one out here, and 1 second. Come on. Oh, it's loading. I don't know. Either somebody's walking or doing a jumping skit with a fucking rope or something. This is making a lot of sound down there, buddy. You're making some sounds down there, buddy. You're really making a lot of noise, buddy. Could you rail it in, buddy? Lights, very fancy lights going off here in Minx. These are at the, I actually don't have no idea where this building is. I don't think it's one of the defense, but I think it's some kind of restaurant or maybe a casino or something. I have no idea what it is. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. There we go. And I can chat there, and we'll have that one up. And I'll get you the latest. According to U.S. intelligence, suggesting 6,500 mercenaries, Wagner mercenaries now in Belarus. Does not pose a direct threat to Ukraine, they said, but I'm wondering who they then who they then are a real threat to, you know. Most likely Belarus. I mean, that's the indications as that's what everybody's saying. That's what they're training on the Belarusian border. That's what they're also doing. How you doing, Vaughn? Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu committed Tuesday to deepen defense cooperation with Iran and Belarus. The morning semaphore detailed Wagner Group's entire growing roles in Belarus. Now, what does defense cooperation mean? You know, I mean, what's the indications? What does defense cooperation mean? Defense cooperation means that they're going to be able to help them in corroborating with their defense. I mean, that's what it means, right? That's the literal words. Now, this is not just some whack job. This is the Chinese defense minister going into Russia, Belarus, and with talks with Iran about possible defense cooperation. Now, what do you think that means, right? Now, obviously, Russia can't have help from China. But you know what country can have help? Belarus. And you know what country can still help Russia? Belarus. So, if China is cooperating with Belarus and then flies things into Belarus, Belarus can technically still either way use it or give it to the Russians, because they can either say that we bought these things, or China says that they are giving these guys current cooperation. We're in an alliance now, so we're going to have to help each other defend. And Russia says we're helping Russia. Then Belarus said that we're helping Russia defend them. Here's a lot of Chinese stuff. China continues to give them a lot of stuff, right? I mean, that's the indications. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I think is going on. And why Iran and Belarus happen to be the only people that Russia can still rely on for aid. Right? How you doing, Ocean? So what Russia is doing, I think, you know, is literally doubling down on the factors and saying, you know what, we are gonna give China, we're gonna give Belarus and Iran a lot of stuff. China's gonna give them a lot of stuff, and then Iran and Belarus are gonna say, oh, well, Russia needs our help, so we're going to give the Chinese stuff, you know, because that's our defense cooperation. That's our deal. We can do that because we bought the things, you know, and now they're going as far as to maybe even be giving them free stuff, or even just having Russia pay for most of it, right? As to having a non-limitized defense cooperation. I think that's what's going to happen here. And I think that's the way that Russia is going to, you know, in my quotation signs right now, guys, my sarcastic voice here, legally going to be able to get heavy Chinese equipment. Because what else does defense cooperation means? It doesn't mean that you're gonna be either defense cooperation means that you're gonna be stationing a lot of troops, or it means that you're gonna be helping said country defend itself with defense cooperation. Right? That's literally what the word's saying. Is what it means. Right? I mean, it's what it means. So I mean, and he's still there. You know, the defense minister. He's in Belarus, and he's. I don't know if he's going to Iran, but if they're doing cooperation with Iran, they're probably going to go to Iran, right? We actually have a Ukrainian Antonov over Guatemala. These guys have been flying around for a while. They look pretty ancient, but they're there. We have Forte 11 in the Black Sea going around. We have 2 tankers over the UK, a river joint in the middle of the US. Yeah, so that's all stuff to come, of course, but in reality, that's what the situation. Talking in code? Jesus. What's the KGB? This guy's onto us. He knows what he's talking about. The KBG. Well, I don't know. Some people keep asking, like, can we please talk our own languages? I'm like, no. No. Because I have no idea what you're saying. It's very simple to keep it English. I know some people are not as good as they are in English, but then you can translate it, you know? I mean, just saying. It's very equalizing rule, I think. Any news on the said MPP? Not as I've heard. How you doing, Desire? Now, not as I've heard. There's not any particular news. Other than no, really. I mean, not really anything that, as to what I've heard, there's not really anything. What? All right. Yeah, not as I've heard, right? So, no, not at the moment. There's supposedly not anything. I'm gonna check the radiation map, right, and see what happens. But as of the moment, I think everything is still fine. Or with some news about maybe some stuff happening, you know, mines or stuff like that. But as you can see, the levels in the area, the levels in the area are very humid still. It's very low. I mean, this is 80. 80 right here is a very low number as well. It's a very low number even for being near a nuclear power plant. So, you know, most of them are still in cold shutdown. At the moment, I think all of them are actually in cold shutdown. And the 6th one is supposedly to go into hot shutdown or hot mode or whatever they want to call it, or producing steam, right? I don't know why. I mean, I'm not an expert. Evacuating lots of people in the area? Well, that's because they're evacuating in Kharkiv, and they were also have evacuated some people. I've not heard of evacuations in Zaporizhia. When have you heard that, Vaughn? Because I've not. The only area I've heard of evacuation is near Kharkiv, where the Russians have picked up some kind of some massive artillery shelling, which putting a direct danger towards the populace in the area. But I've not heard of any evacuation happening in the one in Kirks. Oh, well, Vaughn, I was talking about said MPP, and then you said evacuation, lots of people in that area. So how would I know that you were talking about another place? When I was talking about said MPP, you asked about said MPP, and then I was talking about said MPP, and then you said lots of people were evacuating in the area. How would I supposed to be knowing that? Oh, you're welcome, Ocean. I didn't actually get to show the whole thing. Like, if you, I did put a link in the stream, and if you want to go check it out for yourself. Kharkiv has been there's been most evacuations, or there has been some key evacuations because of intensely shelling. I mean, yesterday alone, we apparently had 16, I think it was Tu-95. Yeah, and one Concorde looking old Soviet bomber, jet fueled motherfucker, right? I mean, the 160. Which is the Tu-160, which is a jet-powered bomber, heavy bomber. And it's apparently, what's it called? Witcher was sitting here alone in the chat, doing late hours of the stream when I was, well, pretty much sleeping. Supposedly, this is actually what she heard. Now, she was sitting here with the stream and watching it and all that, right? And this is supposedly in the middle of the night, right? She was hearing this. Now, the funny thing about that sound there, it's not, doesn't sound as if it was a rocket. It sounds as if it was a plane. I think it's the 160, but I'll be honest, I don't know. That sound right there sounded like it was 160, but look at that. Look at that right there. That's definitely some kind of cruise missile or something right there. You even look at that. There, like it happened over there, and there's a car alarm there that got turned on. You know, it happened over there, and there's a car alarm going off down here. Look at that. No, more as well. Yeah, yeah. It's. I definitely happen to think that it might either it's a jet or it's that 160. Massive. I mean. You know, imagine being watching this and just thinking it could be you next time, you know? Here he comes again. There he goes. Look at that. Apparently air defenses in the area is failing or something, or it was not, but something definitely happened. That hit the building. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe behind it. Look at that. I mean, I think Witch was hearing this last night, right? Massive amount of explosions just overnight. We as well, people who were here yesterday. Yeah, look at that. I think is that annoying? Look at that. That's either a jet or it's that 160 right there, dropping off those. You know, that's the jet power one. It's quite fast as well. It's a predecessor. Well, it's a futuristic design of the Concorde. I don't know if you guys are aware of the Concorde. The Russians once made the British Concorde, right? It was one of those commercial air jets that promised to fly. You know, there's a whole story behind how it got banned because it went hypersonic and nobody liked hearing a hypersonic plane on the size of Mount Everest going over your head, and they got banned because of that. But the Russians, the then USSR, also made a version of it called it wasn't a Concorde, but it was the USSR version of the Concorde. I have no idea what it's called. But and it worked pretty good, right? But at the same time, it also didn't because they weren't able to fit the design right because the Russians like to over design things, which they did back then as well. They were so greedy with doing everything better that they over designed the shit. It went bad, but that's a whole nother story for another time. What's really interesting about that is that is actually then they made the T-160 is actually the TU 160, then a bomber version of that direct plane. Get some pictures of it, maybe. But supposedly this was what happened yesterday as well. 3 massive explosions that were going off there. Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun. Now, sorry if I seem in a bit of an unchipper mood today. I'm doing okay. You know, I just happened to think that there was some news earlier today that really pissed me off. That the Stoltenberg, or his right-hand man, supposedly alongside Stoltenberg, he's called Stein Jensen. Supposedly made a proposal, and I know you guys have heard about this proposal, but it's supposed to be in. It's supposed to give Ukraine the false sense of hope, right? Or it felt like that. But this sort of trade they're calling it. Ukraine has already come out saying it, that they didn't want it, but I'll get the wording of this. The treaty supposedly stated that to give territory in exchange to give territory to Russia in exchange for a membership, Ukrainian to NATO membership. Ukraine will be given membership if they agree to give up territory, but that would play into the Russian hand. Now this is happening as there are multiple stories coming out. Now this is these like first-hand reporters of these semi-U.S. haters, right, coming out and saying that the West is running out of ammo shells, but it's not completely untrue. There has to been global shortage. I mean, it's a bad deal. It certainly is, but there has been global shortage. And it just seems to me that as soon as something gets a little bit hard, the West of us have lost our spine to keep going. I mean, we have to figure out some kind of solution to figure out how we can give the Ukrainians the required amount they need, because they're fighting in a modern war. Now, the U.S. and anybody didn't think they would have to fight in a modern war. The U.S. up until now, I think it was a month ago, have given up to maybe about 1.1 million round of shells, which is the standard shells that we're going to giving for the artillery systems, right? Now they're also resorting towards cluster munitions and others. Their missile brigades, and some of those missiles are holding up. Others are not. We have the Javelin missiles, which have completely stopped given to Ukraine because there was simply such a massive shortage that the U.S. now started to get afraid that they couldn't keep up their own stock in case of wars elsewhere. Which means that the U.S. is now signaling they're ideally behind the factor that they can't continue to supply it. Now, their shell production, if searched, does not even get close to producing the right amount of shells they need to propel to get the stock that they've already used for Ukraine back. Their production level, if search means pumped up, right, could reach 200,000. Now, if they reach 200,000, and that would be a year, that would mean that they would need to spend 5 years, close to 5 years now, to get, or maybe 6 years now, to get the exact numbers back they had when starting this war and giving the amount of shells that they've done to Ukraine. But that's without giving to Ukraine. With giving to Ukraine, who uses close to maybe approximately 100,000. Well, not 100,000. Who uses approximately. They are now producing 60,000, and Ukraine is using close to that. I think it was 50,000 maybe. I'm not completely sure how many shells do. Hey, you did hear about this, I just forgot it. And this is, of course, the U.S. alone, right? I mean, this is, Now, there's also these, they're producing, Defense Department set goal of producing 70,000, producing just under 30,000 shells. This is coming in all over Europe as well. They're asking for about 250,000 shells a month. And another support of explosion in Sumi, but we'll look at into that after. But the point of here, what I'm trying to say, is that Ukraine is asking for a lot more than there is. And the reason why they're doing that is not because they're bad at war. It's because Russia has one tactic and one tactic alone: volume. They have vast amount of resources. Now, to point out that the amount of things they can produce, having their economy on a war footing and their production level on a war footing, does mean that they can produce a lot more than what the EU can, because we don't have our economy or our settings on a war footing, because we didn't think we need that. We still don't think we need that, and our production levels are still too low to be able to keep up with this modern day war, to be able to keep up with Russia. We have to be able to keep up with Russia, but we can't. If and now, if we have to set up systems and put up systems in place that can give us the amount of shells that we need to produce to be able to fight on to this war, that would mean that we need to literally produce about close to over 1 million shells a year, which we are not doing. The whole of Europe alone, the U.S. being the biggest producer, right, and Germany having a big production levels, but haven't really put a lot into it, and they would have to get to pump up their economy as well, pump up their production levels, which they're also doing. Hopefully we can get there, but what we're close to is now that we can get close to 500,000. But we've already given, in a year and a half fighting, 1 million shells, and Ukraine is now asking, and there has been shortage. So that means they've already fired off one of those millions, right? And there has been shortages. And the Javelin tanks and the Javelin missiles has also been in shortages. Now, this is not me sitting here saying that there's going to be a global shortage. There is a global shortage, but this is not me sitting here saying that that means that Russia is not winning. No, Russia is not winning in any sense, okay? By the way, there's a Russian plane in the air that's meant for emergency situation. I just saw that. The Tu-214U S bus, right? The main purpose of the aircraft is to provide additional communication capabilities to the user. Now, the funny thing is, that's over Russia right now. I've not seen these sort of weird sort of Russian planes activity, but it is over Russia right now. It might have just gone offline as I was looking at it, but it's over Russia as we're speaking right now. And I think it's still flying there, but it's not having a tail either. So that's a special flight squadron as well. Russia special flight, and there's another one over here that's also a special flight squadron. Something's happening because the Russia doesn't really do drills like this. Trust me, they don't. So let's keep an eye on that. Back to what I was saying, right? We need to get our production up. Now, the UK and everybody who has committed enough to it is talking about getting it up, and hopefully we will be able to provide and find sustainable options for getting, things we need for Ukraine. But that also means having to ramp up our production, having to stop focusing on the money and realizing that we have to get this war over with, and then we'll start focusing on the money. But as long as we start focusing on the money, which, by the way, Poland is one of those guys who doesn't really focus on money. They're the ones who wants to win before focusing on money, which is what we also want. But at the same time, it just seems that we are not, But that's the thing, Ocean. The U.S. needs to go not particularly on a war footing. That means diverting economy to a war footing. And when you have an economy that's not in an active war, that would be somewhat of a less good move. But they need to have it like a 99% before going to war footing, right? Like, have it internally go to war footing, but not needing the whole extra points, right? Because they need to understand that if we don't do that, we will lose this war. I mean, if Ukraine runs out, and now Ukraine and NATO and the West, Ukraine and West, is actually fighting. Like, they're fighting. Like, they're, What? Breaking. They're shooting at us, or at our cars, probably. We are here on the trenches waiting for information to move back to our cars and leave. EU observers' missions to Armenia in Viron Shara village reports coming under fire from Azerbaijan positions near Kalbija.
There. From that's his position. They are shooting us to our cars, probably. I'm not sure.
We confirmed that EU positions has been present to the shooting incident in our area. Responsibly, no EU member was harmed. EUMA, okay. Azerbaijan apparently hopping on the train now. Now there has been some earlier today. CNSP appointed Prime Minister Ali Lamini Sini visited Chad's Niger. Chad's transitional president Mohamed Idris Deby Itnu and delivered a message from CNSP leader Tahinia. He traveled to Djamani abroad and Niger Air Force C-130H 5U MMS. But guys, we need to get this war going, and we need to get our economy, not pretty much everybody's economy. How you doing, Witchy? Everybody's economy on the fucking war footing. Chinese DM, defense minister, which is if you're wondering what a DM is, it's usually what you send a private message, right? But what my meaning of DM is defense minister, right? Chinese defense minister going to Iran and Belarus to strengthen or do defense cooperations. What does that mean? They're moving things into place. What does that mean? That means that now China can deliver things to Belarus, right? Because Belarus, not being directly seen as a threat delivery-wise, and China not being under sanctions, delivering things to an unsanctioned, well, both Iran and Belarus are sanctioned countries, but they're not Russia, right? Delivering things to Belarus and Iran would not be seen as a deliberate threat, although it would be seen in the eyes of the West to be somewhat of a blunder, right? But and that's what we're seeing now. Apparently, they want to deliver special things, right? Which I think is what's happening. I think China is saying that we can't deliver heavy weapons to Russia, but we can deliver them to their counterparts who already have been seen delivering. Now, most likely, they're not going to be giving heavy weapons to Iran, because Iran having to transport heavy weapons would take a long time. Now, they would most likely give them shells or guns, stuff like that. That's easier to transport. I think if any heavy weapons was to go to anybody, it would be Belarus, because they could drive it over the border, and they would do that in sort of a silent move. And Belarus is paying for it technically, right? Or if Russia is paying for it, that would mean that Russia is then receiving Chinese aid, which Chinese aid, it's all a bunch of scrap. But the only problem is that they're going to be delivering numbers that are greatly outmatching, right? And the only problem with Chinese is that they can produce so much. Yeah. I mean, there's also the discrimination here that they can't be delivering that much. If China starts delivering shit amount to Belarus, somebody's going to know something is up. We already know something is up, but as long as they don't go all mad and deliver shit tons, that's when we got to start worrying. If they do that and Belarus says, and then Russia says, oh, we're going to pay for these, but then in reality they don't really pay for it, right? Or they could make Belarus pay for it. Then when Russia could pay, the price for it and actually get them themselves, or just get them or just take them, which is one thing. But yeah, that's what I think is happening here, guys. It's happening, China has already been supplying Russia, but if they can't supply heavy weapons, because that would be seen as a threat. But I think it's still what's happening. This one as well. Chinese defense minister to visit Russia and Belarus in show of support despite West objections, right? Tensions between Poland and NATO and European Union countries and Belarus, which is Russia's ally in this war in Ukraine, have been building up recently on months and months. Exactly. And it has, and it's still going, and it's going on. And there's been multiple reports of these Wagners, apparently to the U.S. intelligence, there are about 6,500 Wagners. Now, that's obviously downplayed, so about 10,000 Wagners probably, I think. Or close to that, maybe 8,000 or something like that. But I think, obviously, they would downplay it a tiny bit, just to kind of deplay it a bit. But I think close to about 8,000 maybe, is what I can see happening. I mean, and they're still expanding, not leaving, by the way, as well, which is another thing. But yeah, guys, that's what's happening now. It sucks. It really does. I mean, that means that no, China is gonna ramble up its effort and help by literally delivering weapons by not delivering weapons, right? I mean, they're gonna be delivering weapons in the way that you wouldn't see, you know, which is in their eyes of legality, you wouldn't be seeing it, but obviously we would be seeing it, right? Russia forgave 23 billion in African debt. U.S. gives African aid and tell them to they must accept LGBTQ plus lifestyle. If they refuse it, they will be punished and sanctioned. The Russians never colonized Africa to help to liberate African countries. Right, right. Liberate. Sure, sure. Liberate by installing governments that are sympathetic to them. Right. The U.S. is no better when it comes to that. I mean, what the U.S. needs to stop doing is installing governments that isn't picked by the people but picked by them, and then they give it as a sort of, oh, that's okay. A bunch of Russian planes up right now. There are 2 Russian special flight squadrons up right now, and a reconnaissance aircraft. There's actually a Russian reconnaissance aircraft right now heading towards Moscow, and it's going down, you know, and it came from somewhere. It came from somewhere and turned off its transponder. It came from somewhere. We don't know where it took off. It could be landing now at either one of these, right? But we could also, if it starts going over Moscow and doing circles over Moscow, we got to start looking into that. But you know. Nigeria's 26 soldiers killed in ambush by criminal armed group in center of the country. The country is plagued by growing insecurity. While President Bali prioritizes is to invade his neighbor Niger, tend to your own country. Well, any of those countries, they need to really tend to their countries. I mean, there's not, you know, both of these countries are very poor countries. And Niger, obviously being the 8th poorest country in the fucking world, right? I mean, that's. But yeah, I mean, they're still doing it and they're still thinking about it. What has been in other things and other news is also the factor of them talking about doing peace drills. Not peace drills, sorry. Peace talks. But doing peace talks. Yeah. Are you saying spitter or spider? Spider. Again. There you go. So Franco. Now I'll show you a video from Phil DeFranco here. And this is about North Korea. Right? China is a fucking slippery snake. Let's put it like that. They do anything to be sort of, you know, to be within the rules of combat, right? Oh, you saw a. All right, I see. No, all right, you saw a. All right there. Saw a spider. Fair enough. Yeah, I wouldn't know what you were talking about. I was like, what? What are you saying? Spider? I was like, yeah, Spider. I thought you called Putin a spider. I was like, yeah, well, he is. Or Chinese
North Korea
defense.
says it's preparing for an offensive war against
Right,
South Korea. And
here it is, right? I mean, this is what they're talking about. This is, I mean, in case you forgot, we reported on this whole North Korea getting ready for war. You know, this is
coming after the defense chief hinted at a preemptive nuclear
they're
says it's
talking-
preparing for an offensive war against South Korea. And this coming after the defense chief hinted at a preemptive nuclear strike. In response, the US and South Korea will strengthen their defense and surveillance posture. They'll also be conducting military exercises later this month. North Korea is expected to make more provocations in response. I'll have to stay in the loop. North Korea says it's preparing for an offensive war
The only
against...
thing is that he's not showing a North Korean video, which I don't know why he's doing. That's from Belarus, but it doesn't matter. Maybe he's just showing something. Right? Yeah, I was like, I thought the way she said spider, so I thought spider came in, and then I checked the chat, and there's nobody called spider. I was like, well, why, what? I got confused. That's all. Now, but let's pay attention to the factor that there are 2 special flight squadrons and a Russian communication flight in the air. Now, that means that, you know, the Russians, in its entirety, is doing something weird. Because when they put up planes like that, either something's happening or they've been keeping an eye on something. Because trust me, Russia does not spend money on getting those sort of fights up. Why? Because they don't fucking spend money on drills. If you saw the video yesterday, right? The Russians will literally just take a picture of some Russian soldiers training and then give it in to the Russian defense minister and say, well, yeah, we trained today, and then go home, you know, get their money for themselves. Russia doesn't do average drill conductions or average, you know, getting their forces, keeping their forces up, and they don't have the reason as to why they would be doing it, right? Because anybody who would be doing drills is in Ukraine. So the only people that does do drills like that is the U.S. Now we got a P3 actually in just in Vancouver Islands doing multiple rounds. I mean, it's been flying pretty much all day. Look at that flight pattern right there. That's. I think this guy's about to get a bit tired because look at that flight pattern. Holy shit, he's been flying all day. Holy shit, that's a. I mean, there's not a single area in where there's a submarine coming around here. I tell you that much. This guy's a sup locator, so either this or sup in this area, or he's just been flying for a long time today. There's another P3 over there. Look at that, 2 P3s. These are sup locators. Picasso? Yeah, it's probably Picasso flying that plane. I'd imagine him doing some kind of paint work out there. It's possibly Picasso. I mean, it seems very likely. Oh, we got an E6. We got the nuker. I smell nuke. I smell. We got a P8, just outside Richmond or Greenville. Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere along that. Now, obviously, out of those are training planes. And we got what we got. We got some. Oh, look at that. Air Force One, guys. We got Air Force One. Air Force One. Now, this one right here is going to be. Oh, that's Air Force Two. Okay, so we have Air Force One and Air Force Two. Right. Air Force Two. Air Force One. Flying right next to each other. Heading, destination, probably Washington. Behind Charlie. Oh, hello. You see that? I've never seen that before, guys. Well, that's that right there. Air Force Two. That right there. That's not Air Force Two. That's. Wait, is it? Wait, is it? Is it Air Force Two or Doomsday plane? No, it's Air Force Two. Because Doomsday planes look different, right? You know, that's Air Force Two. Air Force One. Sorry. That's an Air Force One right there. The Doomsday planes look completely different, don't they? This is Air Force One, right? Yeah. Because the Doomsday planes, they got that thing on the top. Yeah, that's Air Force One. Has to be. Right? I'm confusing myself. Obviously, it's Air Force One. That's Air Force Two. You guys have the update on where the president is heading? You heard about that? I haven't heard any movement for the president. I don't usually follow along where the American president goes. Because, 1, I really don't care. And 2, I really don't care. It it literally has no like no fucking issues. If he comes to Denmark, I'm gonna care. If he comes anywhere else, I really do not care. Like I really do not care. But that's one. That's Air Force 2 and Air Force 1 right next to each other. There you go, guys. We got a C Glober. That's just Globemaster transport plane right there. But no, obviously there's gonna be jets and other things in the area. You care either? Yeah, really doesn't matter. I mean, unless he comes to visit me, I'm not gonna really care. You know? Yep. So special flight planes right now, actually all over. I will give you the benefit of that now, guys. That this Russian plane, whatever the hell it's doing, it's now at 4,000 feet. I think it's landing. Here it is. Really don't care anymore. Fair enough. But can you see that little thing on the top there? That right there is like what you would have on an E3 or what you would have. Those are, the, I don't know, sensor array, reconnaissance things, satellite, receivers, something, probably a receiver when it comes to communication or something, or a strengthener of communication, strengthener or something. I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea about these planes, right? But all I know is that right there is a Russian communication plane that's probably been out all day, and it just went off radar. Look at that. The reason why I know... Wait, did it go off radar? Where's it moving? 2,000... Yeah, no, it should be moving, but it's not. And look at that. It's literally gone off radar. But it's at 4,000 feet in the air. So where the hell is it? Good question. It's somewhere. It's going somewhere. It just went off radar. Know why I know that? Because it stopped moving. When a Russian plane or any plane really stops moving on flight through, usually it's gone off radar. It probably because it's landing and it doesn't need to have its radar on all the time. That's probably what's happening. I mean, I'll think. I think. No idea though. No idea. We got a Merlin and another Merlin. We got a Danish Merlin. That's a chopper. Yeah. He probably ran out of vodka. They're actually going back for a refill. That's probably what's happening. They're gonna take off again. They just need to do a refill on vodka real quick, and then they're gonna be out. It wouldn't surprise me. Literally, it wouldn't surprise me if that thing just crashed. Like I'm serious. It wouldn't surprise me if that fucking plane just crashed. I wouldn't fucking be surprised. I never in my fucking life ever again find anything that has a Russian pilot trained in Russia. I would trust a pilot that was Russian, trained in a country that was modernized training. If he's a Russian that's lived in obviously Denmark and he's gotten the same education every other pilot, sure. I would not fly anything flying by a Russian trained in Russia that lives in Russia. Fucking fly anything like that. Because they're accident prone. I mean, they really don't know, 3:20 p.m. today, official schedule. The president departs Milwaukee, Washington, en route to Joint Base Andrews. Joint Base Andrews, that's in Washington, right? Well, that makes sense. I mean, we got Air Force 2 and Air Force 1 heading towards the direction of Washington, and Andrews is in Washington, right? Yeah. Or Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. Wait, is that, am I? No, Joint Base Andrews is in Washington, yes. It's very close to Washington, so that's probably where they're heading, right? And, it wouldn't surprise me, Ocean. I have no idea, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, even before the fucking war, the Russian couldn't fly because they're usually so fucking undisciplined, usually so untrained. They, there's nothing going on there, It's been an issue in the Russian army that they're actually starting to accept obese soldiers. And in the modern day, well, everybody would say, what's wrong with that? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. You can't really do that. You can't go to war being obese. Why? Because first of all, you're a bigger fucking target. You know, it's more dangerous. Second of all, it's physical fucking work. You know, you might lose the weight being there, but you know, going to war obese is not going to help you very much. Well, I will say, guys, one thing that's funny, and it's gonna make you think the U.S. is even more fucked up than it is. But the USA in Vietnam, because they were lacking some troop recruitment, actually did send obese soldiers to the front in Vietnam. Why? Why? I'll tell you why. Because being in the middle of a jungle sometimes could guarantee that there wasn't any legitimate cover. And these jungle warriors knowing exactly where and everybody was. And there's a spider in front of this camera in Zaporizhia. I wish I could get the fuck out of there. They literally used the obese soldiers to hide behind them. So they would act as a fucking human shield. And they would usually be told to carry heavy equipment. Because that's what they were good at. There weren't any need for running. That's fucked up. I know it's fucked up, but it happened. You can search it up. It's fucking happened. I mean, now, you know, obviously we're very much in the station that we will not send anybody obese to the front. But back then, you know, they did it, but now in Russia, they're doing it again. They really are. They're doing it again. They're sending obese men to the front. I think it's the Russian fucking tactic of being stupid or something. It's still doing it. Nothing wrong with the whole idea behind obesity. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that going to war, going into the army, you need proper, you know, form. I think is, you know. Such shots. Patty lives matter. Patty lives matter. Well, right. So listen, it's gonna come up. You know, everybody. Every time you say to somebody, you know, this all like there being a true controversy about it, and I'm not sitting out here going like, I'm in the best shape, you know, or something like that. You know, all I'm saying is, going to war, I think you'd need a better shape. But we'll gloss past it. It was just to point out that the Russians are doing it. You know. Obviously, you probably knew that, right? Oh. No, I showed the video earlier, Witchy, of the explosions. Thank you for sharing. But yes, I showed that video earlier. Yeah, it's getting intense. It's getting quite intense. Done on the positive vibes. Now, if you didn't see how strong Poland is, you can go back and show my video where I showed the Russian parade earlier, or you can even go watch the Russian parade yourself, as I put a link in the chat while we were streaming. You could probably rewatch just to comment there, or whatever. Romanian American troops are present at military parade in Warsaw. So these are Abrams right there, aren't they? That's an Abram. I have a very distinct difference between an IFV and a tank, which is that one. It's a tank right there. You know, look at those. Oh, beauties. That looks German. The reason why I'm saying, oh wait, no, it's Romanian. That's one hell of a beast right there. Look at that. Want to come? I wouldn't want. Oh, it's Bradley. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You wouldn't want to come head to toe with this motherfucker. Look at that. That looks a bit older, but looks insane. It really looks insane. I really love the design. You know, that's artillery systems right there. I can't see that they don't really have a flag on them, do they? That Abrams or that's Bradley. So that's Bradley's or Abrams. No idea. Probably it looks like Abrams. Bradley's. That's Bradley's. Was that Bradley's? Right there? Is that what you saying as a Bradley? The other ones. IFVs, right? You watch it tonight? Fair enough. I did show. Well, I only showed like I was like 45 minutes too late starting the stream because I didn't know that it started. So it really like yeah. So this is yeah, there's a good video right here. Like Poland showing off their military, fucking thousands of tons of American made and Polish and German, and then we got Russia. Nice job, guys. One tank. There you go. It's a T-34 right there, isn't it? Look at that. Yeah, it's the sole T-34 they showed off in their parade because the rest of them was actually sent to the front. Well, this right here, right? That's a T-34. This is a World War II mass production tank. What baffles me is the fact that there's so few T-34s left. Because they had a production rate of 80,000 tanks. The USSR during World War II produced 80,000 T-34s. 80,000! That's not even close to the amount Americans produced. It's fucking... a new stealth tank? Oh yeah. It's fucking insane, though. Listen, despite the atrocities of what the USSR has done over the years, now not existing anymore, the Russians of those who have done it, I will never disrespect the soldiers who went to the front of that war. Now, there are some people who will say that's controversial because the Russians and the USSR, did go to war against Poland to start the war and was a German ally in many senses, but many of those soldiers who didn't ask for this, who didn't ask for that war to happen, went into that war. 20 million of their friends died, their comrades, so they want to call it, right? And they then went in to liberate, right? They did that, and I'm we can't sit here and disrespect those men who didn't have anything to do with the later atrocities of the USSR. That sort of, that sort of way of saying, not to respect those men is the whole thing about it is the USSR in itself was a bad company in its whole, bad country, not a company. Well, it was a company and it's so, but I just, the whole disrespecting of the USSR soldiers during World War II, it really can suck because they didn't ask for the whole thing and they didn't ask for all of that. And the point of it where they came to defend and they did defeat the Nazis and we owe them a great deal, but that doesn't mean that we have to respect them. Putin as well and other are narratively, literally, spinning a narrative of saying that we are disrespecting World War II soldiers or anything like that, of these soldiers, of those regiments, of those stuff like that. Box back there is bargaining. But, this whole narrative of him spinning the fact of these men who went to war and that is disrespectful in so many ways because he's using them for his that in its authority is not okay. But well, it's Putin, It's just insane. Yeah, it's not pointing out the fact that the West has serious armament issues, but I believe that there's probably going to be a functioning of there's probably going to be a functioning of a together agreement of getting these production levels up enough. I'm just afraid that it may be too late. I mean, I'm not somebody who would see the Russians winning. I would hate to see the Russians winning because that would mean that the Russians want to move on in the world, right? But if the West now doesn't fucking put it together and go out there, we need to outdo it, undo it, slash. Well, you get it. This is how the Kakhovka Reservoir looks after shallowing. Oh, shallowing. Oh, I thought he meant shelling. Video from local network. Is that? Oh. Yeah, you guys want to see a massive river? Yeah, you can't because there used to be one. Massive lake, massive river. Look at that. The little river back there, right? It's a field now. It's a field. One of the biggest lakes and one of the historical ones. It's just a fucking field now. Ridiculous. Look at that. Howdy fucking Luya, right? It's not even farmland because the bottom of it is not, you can't really use it. You can use that land right there is literally fucking useless because that bottom is not farmable. You can't use, old seed land as farmable land, but without, I think so, but yeah. The Russians are running out of oil. Gazprom gas stations throughout Russia don't have gasoline. This is one of the Cuban? No, Kuban. Kuban is Russia, right? Or is it? Yeah. Only has diesel for the second day running. Russian news reporters on the reason it's more profitable to sell oil abroad. Russia is a gas is a station masquerading as a country?
Топливо продавать
A lot of sentences didn't make a lot of sense. I don't think I can read that. I think I was not.
за рубеж.
День обнуленные ценники на автозаправках.
Why is it that every Russian ever, you know, they could fix? Well, maybe. Well, there's no water in the area, so it won't really make a lot of sense either. Why is it that every Russian reporter,
Как «Газпром»
every time they do anything, is fucking yelling? They always
здесь
yell.
нет бензина.
Even a fucking, I mean, a news reporter here.
92-95
I mean, I know it's loud, but they always
марок,
yell.
заливают только
everything.
дизельное топливо. Это въезд в город Ейск. Автомобилистам приходится выбирать другие заправки. Shell,
Why do they feel the need to yell? I don't get it.
Лукойл и Роснефть подливают автомобилистов. Радуют. Без
Imagine
10
if I
копеек.
was doing that, guys. So listen, so there's a lot of stuff going on. It's happening all over the place. You would like that?
60
Would you like
рублей.
that?
По данным Росстата, с начала года цена
Would
за
you like
литр
that?
разных марок
Yeah.
повысилась более чем на 5%. Больше всех прибавил в цене 95-й. У дизельного топлива рост не такой стремительный – 0,8%.
They do yell, yeah.
Выгоднее топливо продавать за рубеж. К сожалению, это рынок, это факт. Вполне возможно,
Предпринимают шаги.
Yeah, because I speak Russian. Because I understand what he's saying. He's trying a fucking idiot in the eyes. Why have we running out of oil? Maybe it's because the people that used to do the job is not there anymore. You know why they are? Yeah, they're in fucking Ukraine. Because they used to be, they used to do physical job, so now they do other physical job in Ukraine. It's not very hard to figure out that there are not enough people to run the oil fields, to run the oil companies. Gazprom have a lot of people who used to do physical job. Russia now said they take them because they do physical job, so they take them to war. Now they have nobody to do the things that they couldn't before, so now they cannot get enough oil out. They probably fix it, employing a lot of children. No, 18-year-olds. Huh? Is it that bad? And why the fuck is every Russian ever always without a shirt on? I mean, they're so weird people. They're so weird. They fucking are. They're so weird. They're so, I mean, here's a Russian description. They either have bad teeth, they yell a lot, or there are no shirts on them, you know?
Главное, чтобы было чем заправляться. На Кубани
No, it's literally like,
перебои с топливом были в Кропоткине и Краснодаре. Тоже на сети «Газпром» фиксируют жалобы и в
Russia isn't legitimately running out of oil. They're just running out of the oil for the people because they're now using so much for their army. They're rerouting a lot of it. And those people who used to do those jobs, they don't exist anymore. They lie dead in field. That's what I think is thinking. Does it take long time to train up people like that? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Is it hard to find people who can do that job? Yes, it does. I don't know why they hate clothes, and I also don't know why they hate their teeth. Every single Russian ever either have bad teeth, they have no clothes on, or they look like they smell, and they fucking yell. Like, am I wrong? They all do the same thing, and they always use curse words in every sentence. Like, what? They're so weird. They're weird people. I just don't know. Like, people who properly was raised in Russia is like the weirdest form of people you could ever fucking meet. I mean, it's uncaring, you know. They do it. It's unfucking parable. We got an Australian P8. Wait, Australia, mate. We got a C5 in Poland. So that probably came in with a lot of stuff, didn't it? It could have been for the parade, probably. We got a C5. Those are big transport planes, so they probably came in with a lot of stuff for the parade that we had today. So now they got to go back immediately because they obviously can't keep those systems in Poland for some reason. Why would they? Right? Why keep things that could contribute to the safety of another country in a country? Why? Why not use the parade as a pretext to station things in a country that needs stationing in? Well, why would you think that? I agree, they probably smell. Right. No, but am I wrong? I mean, I'm not, trying to be disrespectful towards the average Russian, not being the ones at the war front here, but am I wrong? Answer me, goddammit, am I wrong? No, you're not wrong. You're completely right, sir. That's right. I'm always right. Am I not right all the time? Yes, you are, sir. Good stuff. In the army, not that I've been in the army, they would do that. Am I not always right, sir? So am I not always right, Lieutenant? I am. Yes, sir, you are always right. Why am I always right? Because you're a brilliant person. Why am I always a brilliant person? I don't know, sir, but you're just a brilliant person. You're brilliant. You're perfect. You're everything. Thank you, Smart. Thank you, Sergeant. Yes, Sergeant. You're welcome, Sergeant. Can I get a raise now? Fuck off, Sergeant. Okay, sir. What? Oh, Latvia cancels border guards' vacation and mobilizes staff to reinforce the border due to the threat of migrants from Belarus. Latvia state border guard services. Also, all of those who had time to take the vacation early are being returned to duty. About 100 attempts of illegal crossings were recorded at the border between Latvia and Belarus only during the day. Yep, it's getting worse, They're doing what the Germans did. Do you guys want another history lessons, or do you want me to not do that? Because I can't pull out my stocks here again. If you want. Main news from August 15. At night, Russia massively attacked Ukraine and hit Lviv Oblast, Chechnya Oblast, Oblast, and Volhynian. I actually saw a little bit of an interview earlier today as to why they're attacking Lviv. Ukraine has been attacking inside Russia, and Russia is now saying we can also attack inside Ukraine, and there's no borders as to where we can hit, which is like, yeah, we know. You don't have the most modern equipment, but we know you have capabilities to strike inside. Nobody's taking that away from you. I don't know why they need to prove themselves like that all the time. Like, we know that you can do that. We know, like, we're not taking that away from you. At night, the Russians shelled Kramatorsk. Nothing on there, right? But that's probably what we saw the videos of there, would you? The president of Poland honored the memory of the soldiers of the Ukrainian People's Republic who, together with the Poles, defeated the Bolsheviks. Yes. Yep. Sweden allocated an additional aid package to Ukraine. North Macedonia joined the G7 declaration of providing security guarantees to Ukraine. They got some Cold War systems, I think, North Macedonia, so that could be cool. That could be cool. That's personally not a bad thing. Polish soldiers honoring the Polish soldiers who fell in the Battle of Warsaw in 1920 by firing 3 volleys saluted by their graves. And if you guys didn't know, after World War I, the reason why the Russians pulled out the war in World War I was because the Germans went to Switzerland, where an exiled Bolshevik called, you might know him, he was called Vladimir Lenin, the man who started the USSR. He was called up by the Germans to go to did you work bombs with you last night? Goddamn. They were sent to Russia. Were Bolshevik boys. They took over the government, and in the few short years that Vladimir Lenin was in war with the government, he managed to also go to war quite a few years later after quite a few years after Russia already had been at war with Germany, and they weren't ready for another war, but they went to war against the Ukraine and Polish people who were stating an uprising, and that's where Poland was reborn, right? Well, for a time, right? They were born there for a time. And then the Ukrainians and Polish fought together. There was a massive war, and first everybody thought Russia was going to win, and then they didn't win. The Polish actually managed to win against the Russians, who had the biggest army still at the time, obviously very depleted and undersupplied. Vladimir Lenin managed to ruin the economy, run the country to the ground, start a USSR government, and literally caused a famine in the few short years he was actually in power. I showed a video here, guys. I mean, they're also wearing, I think, the traditional uniform as well, which is quite good. But we'll show the video here. Very disciplined people. Good. Yep. Dang, it's very in sync. See the discipline of these guys. I mean, you get this into Western countries, right? I mean, they're very disciplined. I love the sound. When they touch your guns, I love that sound. These are also traditional Polish uniforms right there. This one uniform right here is also quite traditional. A quite traditional uniform. One of those you would see around, you know. The really, I mean, stylish, really well suited. You know, I don't know why it is that there's not more people wearing these suits when it comes to, well, obviously in military parades they do wear sort of these suits, but and I get, you know, not wearing these sort of suits all the time, but I don't know why we got rid of the whole stylish thing with the suits. I mean, I really like the factor that they're wearing these extremely stylish suits, you know. Belarus is gonna get fucked up. I mean, we already know that. And these suits right here as well, you know, these guys are very stylish. And I get the fact that they wear them, you know, but, you know, I'm obviously not doing war. I mean, I need to wear them doing war, and I get that, but, and obviously doing training and all that stuff. And obviously outside they still wear them, but, you know, the officers and all that, unless they're doing drills and all that. Well, maybe they actually do wear them enough. I just, you know, I wish we even stopped the whole war, uniform making, because I think it's quite stylish to have them. I think they look pretty good in them. But the whole thing about Latvia calling in their people from vacation is also quite another aspect that's going on, because if you're calling in your people, you know, there's something going on in the factor of these migrants storming in, and they need help at this border here. Now, the Germans, and I'm going to do it anyways, guys, the Germans doing the time of the Blitzkrieg, and the Blitzkrieg meaning fast war, they sent, you know, into the War of Ardennes, you know, they launched an attack through into Belgium and Netherlands. Then the Allies charged straight into Belgium. Belgium had originally refused to actually have Allied forces in its country because they thought the possibility of being invaded was so out there that it was insane. And then they were invaded, you know. So, and what was really interesting about that was that the Allies charged head into Belgium without Belgium, just did it because they could, right? And then to meet the Germans, they got pushed back in Belgium, but then the Germans rerouted their forces through the Ardennes, heavily forest area that nobody thought they could get through, but they got through it, and they went through with their forces, surprise attack. But before they did all of this, they would usually send about thousands and thousands of refugees forward to slow the Allies down, sometimes even hiding special units inside of these, migrants to cause disruption. And this is not exactly the way that we're seeing it now, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Belarusians, Russians do the same thing of trying to disrupt functioning and organization inside of these border countries, Belarus, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, these countries who are now receiving multiple amount of the migrants that they can't legitimately turn back because of rules, humanitarian rules in our society, which, it's all right. So sometimes we may have to be a little bit more fixated on that. But as we're watching that, in its efforts and in its way forward, I think it wouldn't be surprising to see a tactic from the Belarusians or Russians that would recruit, sending a bunch of people into these border countries before launching that war, and that would certainly be an interesting thing to see. We have an Island second 76T. I think that's a cargo plane right there. Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations. What? Okay, so we have a Russian plane. This comes after me seeing a Russian Minister of Emergencies and the Minister of Situation, Special Flight Squadron, a reconnaissance plane, and now, guys, we're seeing Forte 10 and a legitimately... Oh, sorry. Grabbed the wrong one. Legitimately Russian, it says right here, Ministry for Emergency Situations. Now, either way, if they're just using these planes because they don't have others, or they're using these planes because now something's happening, but either way, something seems off because they're using all sort of special planes, and out of the Russians, they don't really use that, so whatever the hell's going on there, maybe they could be keeping an eye for the Chinese DM or whatever, but something seems off there, guys. Something certainly seems off there. It's a commercial and military freighter and an emergency transport for humanitarian aid and disaster relief. Right, so the Russians are using it for humanitarian relief. I doubt that. Inside their own border? Doubt it. But military and emergency troop movement? Something? I don't know. Wow. Yeah. That's happening. So, yeah. If you guys ever see the Lycian second, okay, so if you guys ever see the plane called Lycian 76-400M with a big bulge on top of it, it looks like this right here, right? And supposedly the Russians have two of these. Supposedly they only actually have one of these. This one right here, this is a Russian doomsday plane. Usually you would actually not see it up, but if you ever do spot it, something's up, because they don't fly that fucking doomsday plane unless something's really happening. They don't use that doomsday plane because it's old and it's outdated. It costs a lot of money to fly. But, I mean, look at this, guys, right here. This is so weird sometimes, because now, there's a Ukrainian plane that's just about to land here in... This is a Ukrainian Lycian 76 TD, right? It's at 30. It's about to land at the airport right there. We know that, right? And right behind it is a Russian AN-24. And where did that take off from? It took off from a small island in the middle of fucking nowhere. I don't know what the fuck these planes are doing, but they're doing something weird, because these planes have been flying all over the place. I mean, either Russians are picking off and calling in old favors, or they're doing something weird. Because, I mean, they're fucking everywhere right now. And right now, I don't know if this plane is going to land there. Yeah, old and outdated in Russia? How could you possibly think so? I don't know if this plane right here is about to land there. If this plane, which is a Russian plane, is about to land in an airport where there's another Ukrainian plane, it's about to be a very tense situation. mix up in schedules, right? Bunch of choppers over the UK. We're having some kind of drills. They usually do a lot of drills, actually. We did have a P approach the supposedly the P8 earlier, having been in the area around the Black Sea, now heading back to Sicily in Italy. Yeah, so that's really what's going on plane-wise. I mean, there's nothing really else right there, but there's lots of different kind of things going on right now with Russian planes. But Russia doesn't fly anything if it costs a lot of fucking money to get up, you know? Much like Putin, he costs a lot of money to get up. Did you get that joke? We're talking about his small Putin. He costs a lot of money to get up. You talking about small Putin? That was hilarious. Russia confirms its military support for the government of Nigeria and asks others U.S. to hate what? And the other ask U.S. us to hate Russia. Congo first. Fucking Russia. You know, he's Putin. He always spins the narrative. You got to give the man credit. He knows when to put his hand in. You know. Fucking hate the man. I really like every fiber of my fucking brain. Oh, it's still resting? Who would have known, right? I mean, who would have known that the bridge that we've never seen any images of being attacked now is still supposedly closed, because everything is obviously still working and in working order, right? So Oix Defender retweeted this right here. This appears to be a boat heading on her. That's a speedboat. Kirk Strait Bridge, 0.5 meter from August 13th, shows the section of bridge close to Crimea where vessels traverse. While limited, it appears to show both vehicles and vessels traffic. Oh yeah, but a lot of traffic. Yeah, lots of traffic. One speedboat and a car. That's traffic. Yeah, a bunch of cars moving through the bridge. Yeah, that's traffic. One car and one speedboat. And by the way, this is an old fucking picture. Because why would you know that? Either you gotta look and then you gotta say, you know, what the fuck is that? Is that just the image fucking up? Because what I'm looking at right now appears to be bridge that's literally cut in half. Now, either that's because of the picture being fucked up, or that right there is literally the bridge right there being fucked up. Look at that. You zoom in right here. That's the picture, right? I mean, that's the picture fucking up, right? And supposedly, oh yeah, that's a car right there. Right. So it's not just something, you know, reflecting off the surface or something like that. No, it's a car. That right there, yeah, that's a car. Right, and a speedboat heading under a bridge is maritime traffic. You're telling me that the bridge that where there's multiple amount of travel and there's cars heading through every day, an amount of thousands, and the speedboats and boats heading through there also the amounts of thousands. You calling this limited? I would say this right here, not limited. This is nowhere near limited. This is nowhere near anything. So no, that's not. I don't know why he retweeted this, but this is ridiculous. This is not. This doesn't show traffic. This is show to close where vessels travel. While limited, it appears to show both vehicles and vessel traffic. Right, one of each, and one of each is traffic. No, it's not. It's either a Russian service van or a Russian speedboat. Because listen, that one of each is not a fucking show of, you know, fucking. If that right there is one of each, it's not, you know, that's ridiculous. I don't know how you retweeted that. That's ridiculous. No, but that's ridiculous. I mean, one of each is not limited traffic. That's non-existing traffic. One of each thing is not a traffic. You know what the definition of traffic means? The traffic means there's one car and another car, and that means that there's going in a line, and that's traffic. When you say there's a lot of traffic, that's a lot of cars. One car is not traffic. That's a fucking F1 car doing a 20 miles, doing 150,000 miles an hour down the highway, right? I mean, just, you know. No. I mean, one vessel, which by the way was a speedboat. A speedboat doesn't require a lot of, you know, space to travel under. Right? I mean, that's a bit ridiculous. I don't know why he would be retreating that, but let's just, you know, we'll gloss past it, right? I mean, it's a little ridiculous as to why he would be doing that, but I don't know if he's believing that or if he's, you know, but that's, yeah. Four dies, others trapped as oil rig in Niger Delta collapsed. Good God. There's images of it. Of another man. Yeah, that's definitely collapsed. I don't know if you guys know how an oil rig looks like, but that's, you know, not supposed to look like that.
God.
The whole water looks like there's fucking oil in it. I don't know why, but it just looks like it. No, it's just dirt. It's just dirty.
Even that crane when we did close to that place was very risky.
It's just casually fucking singing in the background, acting as if nothing happened. Look at those quality right there. Look at the unqualified. That's wood. I fucking wonder it broke. Just these things, you know. How long has it been here? I don't fucking know, but you got wood in the water and you don't inspect it, and you don't, you know, upgrade it, or you don't take care of it. You know, putting wood in the water. You know, when they build these giant oil rigs, you know, out in the ocean, they don't put fucking. That looks like to be on a lake. I just want to point that out. So maybe it could have been possible to haul it out. It just means that they hadn't really updated it. Probably just left it there for hours on end, right? Or days and years. But those oil rigs in the middle of the ocean, is those pillars that you see there is about 10 houses wide, you know. So, and I still think it's incredible to see oil rigs. I mean, they're incredible things, you know, to think that we can build that, humans. That's incredible, you know. Really, I mean, properly made oil rigs. I mean, those are things that are quite amazingly looking, right? Honor strolling here, guys. Honor strolling. He probably just. I mean, honest, Ice Defender, he probably just jumped the gun. Sometimes. It happens. I mean, even the best of the best sometimes fall for it, but. This is the statement of the fucking century right here, guys. Welcome back, Ocean. This war will last. This is about the Ukraine war, by the way. They said about this is what they said about the Ukraine war. This war will last 3 to 4 days maximum. There's nobody to fight us. I love every time that there's a Russian bot or propagandist or somebody on Twitter or something like that. I always love asking them the same question. How long is 3 to 4 days or 3 days in Russia? And every time somebody answers, it doesn't matter. We're going to be there anyways. And it says, oh yeah, sure. But when? Then said, in time. And I said, no, can you give me a date on when? Because if I just want to know how long 3 days in Russia is, because that's what Putin says. And they always say, yeah, but every country has military failures. It's like, okay, then when Ukraine did their sort of blunder with their counteroffensives, having, a little bit of a failure or trying to reorganize, and every Russian butt out there said that, having a military failure means that they're bad at war. So you're saying that every great military has military failures, but they're still great, right? So what you're saying is... Just give it a second, guys. So what you're saying is... So what you're doing is double downing on yourself. You're saying that every country and every military has a failure. Ukraine's just had a failure, so you say they're still a great military. No, they're not a great military. Russia's still going to win over them. Okay, then explain to me how. And then they say, because we have the superior army. Yeah, okay, but then, how do you have the superior army? What makes your army more superior? We have more stuff, they say. I was like, all right, fair enough. But wouldn't you agree that quality is over volume? And then they would say, we still have more stuff. We can make more stuff. I say, all right, but if you can make more stuff, then and if you have superior armor, you have everything, why is it that the Russians have not made one advancement that's significant in almost 9 months? He said, because they're gearing up. They keep going. Every single inch that they can get out of somebody. And what people really hate, and this is a pro tip, this is a tip for anybody who's ever in a fucking argument with anybody, unless it goes confrontational, what you gotta do is stay calm, and just say, just with yourself, stay calm, keep going, right? Keep going, being calm. And I do, one work day is equal 365 days in Russia. That must be it, and that's what they're doing here. Their days are obviously way different than ours because they're so advanced. We got a P8 in Japan, guys. This, of course, comes after North Korea posturing their asses like they always do. This time it almost looks a bit more serious, but we got this P8 here. Keep an eye out. Could be drills, could be nothing, but there is, of course, North Korean submarines, and if North Korea starts moving something, they obviously want to know about it. So that's probably what they're doing. It's probably what they're doing. Oh, thank you. Guys, I've just found I've just found what appears to be live active map of Belarusian military forces. Now, I can't precisely claim all of that, right? But if this is true, oh, Malachi region just turned on. We might hear air raids in the back here. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't speak any of that, so we'll have to translate it, of course. 11 o'clock, Brest, Prince Street, south. The column of armed forces of the Republican Belarus was moving constitution of at least 20 mass vehicles, 10 free valid vehicles, at least €6, free 4,320s, well, whatever, right? With the 122 mm D30 howitzer, several Cayman BRDMs, a total of at least 30 vehicles. That's by rail. 630, and by rail usually either means troop movement or something like that, right, guys? I mean, this is pretty cool. This right here, I think, means this has to be yeah, that's usually what it means. The airfield, the flight of the fighter air forces of the Republic of Belarus. 12:30. MN1 near Branson, a convoy of armed forces of the Republic of Belarus was noticed. Mass free mass aving 1 KMAS aving several trails Kong minibus. They're all moving in the direction of one. But what's most, significant, guys, is the fact that they're here. Warsaw. What I don't get is why are they here? Why are they not here? Why are they here? And I can't know if this is legitimate or not. I mean, these appears to be chopper movements or what. I have no idea if these are legitimate or not. I mean, I can't claim any of this, right? They all seem to be moving in the same direction, and they're moving within the range of the nearest big city that Belarus has that's near Warsaw. I mean, what's really interesting about that, right, is that the fact that they're going around thinking that they can take Warsaw. And the Swarovski Gap was one thing. But if they're stationing troops and equipment here, what the fuck are they even thinking? Are they born fucking deaf or something? Man, how fucking idiotic can one person be to have moved that shit? That's fucking idiotic. You can actually track military movement throughout days here. You go back, and this is in 2022. But is this even from these days? Is this even from today? It says the 15th, which is today. But you go back just a tiny, appears to be just a tiny bit of days. Well, maybe. We go back to look at that right there as well. That was Russian right there. Look at that. That's all Russian right there, and then that must have been Russian, right? Massive movement. One here, the Swarovski Gap there. And the last movement here, the 13th. I mean, what's really weird is the factor of where they're heading, right? Okay, so there's one right there. What's that? During the day, exercises were conducted at the Koshka training ground. Smoke was visible in the area, and explosions were heard. This is near Sawaski, so they're doing drills, which is weird. Which now we know, right? And this is from what? This is from the 31st. You know, this was when they announced the drills. Well, I think they actually did maybe announce some drills, but all we know is that they're the 31st. You know, and that means that they were doing some kind of drills, and I think that was even some time ago. Weird. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. But whatever. Right? Whatever. I mean, what I'm most keeping my eye on is Chinese defense minister in fucking, you know, inside this Russia and Belarus. Iran as well, possibly, but I don't know about Iran. I have no idea if they were going to Iran. I just saw one of the people talking about Iran as well, and I assumed that would make sense. But you know, I think he's only going to Russia and Belarus, and he's in those countries for until the 19th. So I don't think. Listen, China has enough, you know, say so that they probably wouldn't even be doing stuff before the 19th, after the defense minister had left the country and is back in China, which means we're not going to see anything happening before the 19th. And if anything was to happen, then if they secured some kind of deal, which you're probably going to get to know eventually, right? That would mean that they're literally saying to everybody and opening their fucking, like everybody, and saying to everybody's faces, yeah, we're helping each other now. We're going to be conducting drills together, maybe. We're going to be doing stuff together. We're going to give you stuff. And if that happens, right, and that means that these countries are moving together even more, we're probably not going to see a war happening anytime sooner, right? That means that we couldn't see a war happening unless Putin starts to get really pressed on the front line, which he already is, and something significant happened. He doesn't have that long to ride on, right? I mean, all he really has is, if China does and wants to go in, right, and wants to help out, he can obviously pull the front line even longer to get things into place, but he doesn't have that long left on the front line. Eventually, that supplyment of anything Zaporizhzhia just turned on now is going to turn off, and everything is going to go south, because it's already gone south, right? But eventually, you know, Russia's going to run out. Eventually, Russia is not going to have enough. Point is being, he can't drag it out for that much longer. The factor is that if he goes like this, and the amount of consumption that they're doing, I couldn't see Russia lasting more than 6 months. I couldn't see Russia lasting about more than 3 months. This war right here could easily... We could see the big movements happening within the next few months. I would agree to that, because... And if Russia and Belarus was going to do something, it was going to be within the next month, because they can't wait that long. The Russian front lines cannot and will not hold for that long. Even today alone. And even today alone, there's been massive pushes inside Zaporizhzhia region here. Look at that. Well, maybe not massive, but it's certainly... It's something. It's a whole front line of push right there. They're in Zaporizhzhia. They're liberating the area. And it probably won't be long before they break through that defense and do something really significant. So the Russians are now backed up into a corner, having to get this shit ready or do something sooner or later before the Ukrainians just simply continue to steamroll ahead and go through the Russians, because that's what they're doing, right? I mean, I'm somebody, but I want to say truth to the truth here. I don't want it to happen. But you have to imagine that either they're going to do something eventually, or nothing happens, right? I mean, it's, you know. Sucks to know it. Oh, Ukraine is turning red now. Very multiple amount of some kind of missile threat or something. Drone threat, maybe. Right, that's my analysis of the situation in Ukraine at the moment, right? Two people that has burned down Qurans in the fucking streets. I cannot tell you how much I fucking hate those people. Why? It's not a fucking political move. What you're doing is bringing people's lives in fucking danger. Because now, Al Qaeda has called for attacks on Denmark and Sweden. What does that mean? Because your stupid fucking activist actions. You know what fucking happens? Al Qaeda is going to launch and even try to launch some kind of attack on fucking Denmark and Sweden. Are you bringing people's lives in danger? Yes, you fucking are. He was a fucking politician. The man who burned the first Quran in Sweden, he was a fucking politician. Talks about being the person who's gonna liberate Denmark. What he's doing? He's bringing Denmark into fucking more danger. And we're talking about a fucking serious amount of ability for terror fucking attacks inside Denmark. Why? Because two fucking idiots went onto the streets and started burning Qurans. What's ridiculous about it is the factor that now there's another country saying that this is ridiculous. We can't do this. I don't give a fuck what Al-Qaeda says. Okay? I wouldn't give less of a shit what they say. They play their big guns, right? The only issue is that Al-Qaeda has a big fucking network of idiots inside other countries thinking that they're doing the world a bigger debt, you know? Just saying. I mean, yeah, we have South Ukraine shaded and S-300 threat. Thank you, Witchy. We have reported here now. So some kind of threat of something happening here in Ukraine tonight could be an attack S-300. Of course, weird reason being aviation. S-300s are air defense missiles, but they're also being used as ground targets now, which is stupid, but that's what's happening. But I was just saying, you know, it's so ridiculous, and this sort of thing happens, and you bring people's lives at fucking danger, you know. You with your activist fucking movements, thinking that you're doing something good for the world by burning a Quran in the fucking streets. Tell you what you're doing is bringing people's lives at fucking danger. That's what you're doing. You're bringing people's lives in danger. My life right now could be in danger because some idiot thought it was a cool idea to shred, burn Qurans in the fucking street, shitting on another religion. Now bringing a fucking terrorist organization wanting to launch attacks in either Sweden or Denmark. Now that's fucking ridiculous. Am I afraid of these people? Am I afraid of terrorists and of these attacks? Yeah, I fucking am. Why? Because they always have a fucking way to do something, don't they? Our fucking literal idea about being the friendliest people in the world is shrouding the idea of keeping our people fucking safe. It's not free will to burn a fucking Quran. It's not free will to go out into the fucking streets and tell people that they're assholes. It's not free will to talk shit about immigrants. It's not free will. You know what that fucking is? It's stupid, and they should be allowed to do it. Racism, you're not allowed to be fucking racist, are you? You can't throw people in jail for it, but you're not allowed to. People still do it. It's ridiculous. This whole free speech sort of fucking shit is not a fucking, you know, it's not a maritime fest. You can't just go out in the street and call people assholes and say I have free speech. It's not how things work. It's not how life works. You can't just do that. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, you're bringing people's life in danger. That motherfucker who burned those Qurans, he's brought people's life in danger. Why? Because you're calling for a terrorist organization worldwide with a lot of fucking resources to do a lot of terror inside these countries. Now, I'm gonna fall for the whole like, oh, idea behind it, but yeah. 60,000 Ukrainians from occupied Donbass forcefully mobilized to fight Russia's war against Ukraine. Well, we already, yeah. The only downside about that is if you go out alongside a troop of Russians, untrained Russians, and you have some Ukrainians who are also untrained, but you literally giving, the Russians are giving the enemies a lot of guns, and then they're going out alone without officers, and putting a lot of Ukrainian regiments together with Russian regiments, which means either way, if some of those Ukrainians get the chance to actually talk to those guys, inside operations called insurgents, right? Insurgencies could be happening, or either way, it's just a way for them to escape over the fucking border. You know, they're not gonna stay loyal, obviously. You know. I just want to point out right now that there's a Ukrainian transport flight here, and now there's a Russian transport flight here. Pretty far away from each other, but still, it's a tense situation. There's a Ukrainian flight right here, and there's a Russian flight going or landing, supposedly landing here. Or here. Although he's quite far up in the air to be landing here. But I guess he'd be able to descend. It's quite a big plane, AN-24, 124. They're quite big planes. Actually, very big planes. Yeah, maybe. Ocean, I don't know. I think a lot of these Arab countries, I mean, listen, they really only care about one thing, which is getting fucking rich. And when there's a war going on, and you have a map, and you have a upside weapons manufacturing factory and deals, you know, you can get a lot of supplies out, and they pride themselves on being the neutral side, right? And if you go around parading yourself on the neutral side, selling weapons to everybody, that means war for these guys are very good, because that means that they are paid a lot of money. You know, they're paid a lot of money to give them stuff, you know, and that means that they just get richer and richer. Got an upside all of a sudden, right? And they support both sides in a way that they don't support anybody. But they obviously support both sides, probably in weapons ways, or bullets, or, you know, AK-47s. They got a lot of those. You know, it's what they do, because they like getting rich, and they don't care about the whole politics behind it. You know, that's why when you're in a war, the best partners are usually Middle Eastern partners. Although they don't have great equipment. They don't really have a lot of great equipment, and most of their equipment are either outdated or, you know, some of them are, you know, those countries with a lot of money who like to support both sides for some of the few rich people in the countries who get rich, right? But there are 2 P8s in Japan right now. I just want to point that out. 2 P8s. The U.S. actually did the same thing, you know, buy from neighboring countries. You have those. Well, the U.S. never fought with AK-47s, but they have fought with some modified versions of it, you know. And when they were supplying the Afghanis forces, they did the same thing, and when they were doing other things like that, supplying them with AK-47s was the exact same thing because it was so cheap and it was so easy to buy. They're everywhere. Bullets and all that stuff. They're the easy match because they don't really care about who buys as long as they get rich. It's corrupt as hell, but it's also really good. And people buy a lot from Israel as well. Israel being a Middle Eastern country, having a lot of modern weapons, Denmark, everybody buys from Israel. Having had U.S. aid, and they also got their Iron Dome system, which is one of the most advanced air defense systems in the world. Patriot systems and AVAX, all those guys are also pretty insane. If you want, good quality made equipment for a long time, you bang 50, all right, fair enough with you. You buy it from America. You want to fight a war in the Middle East, and you're employing a lot of mercenaries or Middle Eastern fighters. You don't buy from the United States because that's cost a lot of money. What you buy from Middle Eastern countries. Why? Because the Middle Eastern countries they got a lot of stuff and they can sell it really cheap. AK-47s, body armor that they sell usually either from Cold War systems or stuff like that. But they sell them really cheap, which is the fucking upside, right? When they want to supply mercenaries inside of Africa, you don't see Africans or the Middle Eastern people who are supported by aid from either the U.S. or other Western countries. Everybody always thinks, how can we get this aid there so quickly? Because we just buy it from another country. When we buy it, it's already ready, and then we ship it. Buy it from one country, pick it up in one country, go into that country, and usually these countries that we buy it from, we buy it in a cheap fashion, so it's easier to maintain a functioning supply, which is buying AK-47s, and also AK-47s being one of the main weapons from Ukrainians. That also means that Ukraine used a lot of modified weapons as well, a lot of modified AK, which is also a specialization for the Middle Eastern as well. Yemen being one of the they also buy, the U.S. also usually buy things from, if they're trying to supply, and everybody always thinks of these like being a sort of, like an unethical kind of thing, which is really, oh, I just heard an explosion there. Listen. Oh, shit. Boom. Yeah. There are explosions right there. Somewhere here. But again, back to it, Libya having massive arms stocks of everything, because of the time of Gaddafi, who had a massive arms stock. You got a lot of those guns. The reason why the U.S. buys all those guns is because not only do you get rid of all the guns from the country, but you can buy all those guns pretty fucking cheap, and you can give them, because there's so many of them, the volume outrageous the value. And given to all these Middle Eastern countries or African countries who are in wars, and you actually support one side of this war, and you give it to those guys, it's a whole cycle. Everybody always thinks about it. A lot of those weapons that either you buy and you give to those forces either end up back in the hands of the people you first bought it from. And the U.S. doesn't really care about that. People always think, this is the way that we usually would give them our own systems. We don't give them their own systems. We don't give them M4s. That's what we don't give them M4s. The African people, we don't go down and give them M4s. We give them AK-47s. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's true. And look it up. If it's a legitimate, some kind of conflict, we might end up giving them bullets or aids or stuff like that. But when you got a massive arms stocks in another country that has so much stuff and so much stock, and they're willing to sell to you, because in reality they don't really care if you're the U.S. They just want the money because the U.S. pays a lot of money, and they know usually they will overcharge the U.S., but the U.S. doesn't really care about that. It's still cheaper than to manufacture and buy the modern weapons from Western countries. It's still way cheaper. Way cheaper. Transport-wise and everything. Everybody always thinks that some sort of stuff like that. How could that possibly happen? How could we possibly buy from Middle Eastern countries? How could we possibly do that? How could we possibly buy from countries that we already have, been in war with and stuff like that? But it still happens. People don't think it happened, but it still happens. Trust me. I mean, we don't really directly buy from Afghanistan as of what we know of, right? But that's what we know of. Some of those arms dealers that you would get inside when the U.S. buys guns from somebody, either way, some of those guns probably came from Afghanistan. Which is ridiculous to think about. But again, when you got a massive weapon stock, you left a lot of them, and you left a lot of them there, The U.S. actually made Afghanistan one of the most well-equipped countries in the world because they had 20 years of fighting and they left a lot of guns in the area. There's a F-35 Lightning II at the Mexican border. That's interesting. No, anyways, I'll stop talking about that now because otherwise I can drag on for hours about talking. I do like talking about that sort of stuff. But we got an F-16 in the area as well. We have an F-16 and a F-35. Another explosion there, I think. Other regions starting on Kherson and Mykolaiv also. Ooh. Listen. Listen. You hear that? There's 2 explosions right there. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I don't know what the hell is happening with the Ukrainian air defense for the moment. Because yesterday they just allowed 3 of those rockets to actually hit their area. Either that's explosions in the air, but something's happening. I mean, I don't know if they're. Generally, I'm actually worried if they're having some kind of depletion issues or stockpile issues because I've not seen legitimately. This is me talking right now. Usually we don't hear those rockets hit the fucking ground. Yeah, they do hit the ground, but usually I feel like we've seen a lot lately of the rockets not ending up on the ground, but actually ending up being shot out of the air. And for a moment there, I thought that the Ukrainians are really up their game when it came to the air defense, but when you're fighting against Russia, who fires so much against you at every single second of the fucking day, that tends to happen, right? San Marino has a Hawkeye X 800 XP. It's a private owned San Marino. It's probably because they went from a holiday there, didn't they? It's privately owned as well. We still have a Russian Ministry of Defense for Defense Emergencies situation plane up over Russia right now. We'll point that out again. Still there. 2 P-8s in Japan. Probably some kind of drills. But yeah, it's happening. All right, well, I'm going to take a little bit of a break here. You might hear some explosions, but I really need to stand up here for a second. So I'll take a little bit of a break, and then I'll be back as soon as possible. Hey, what's up? I'm back and rolling. Hear more explosions? Really? It's crazy. Really is crazy. Fair enough. Somewhere between 3 and another number. Fair enough. I mean, it's serious. Ukraine plans to fortify defenses along northeastern borders with Russia and Belarus by... Yeah. Makes sense. You're a kite in a dance, in a rain, Arabian night. How's everyone doing? Good? I am. Yeah. Well, yeah. Uh, oh. Oh. Nigerian Air Force aircraft en route to Niger state crashes. Of course it does. Of course it did, right? Didn't it? We want French forces to leave our country. This is Niger, not French. French. I mean, that's their main objective at the moment, is to get France out of Niger, which is, I can't believe that there still is French forces in Niger. And the French forces, by the way, is there to keep peace. What a great job the French forces did of keeping peace. The France need to realize it's not their fucking colony anymore. They have forces there, because that was part of the deal when they gave up on their territory, right? But the whole colonial rule thing, it just, there's so many non-reasons to have forces in the area. By the way, all the other countries around Niger is allowing, you know, the French forces that are stationed there. And the other part is, if French need to pull those forces out now before it gets serious, because if it gets serious, France could be looking at a war that it could be forced to be involved in, because if an attack does happen, you know, and French forces get attacked, or as they've already been in parts of many of the protests that are in the country now, leaving the country and getting the hell out of there would be the wisest choice. But, France obviously wanting to keep its forces there because it still believes in its maritime rule, right? All right, I've got the full update on ZMVP, and I'll read it out here now. The sixth power unit of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was transferred to a hot shutdown state, and the mode which the hot water generated during the operations of the power plant is used to heat the houses. Fair enough. Okay, so second thing is, it is also reported that the fourth unit reactor plant is currently in cold shutdown state, a mode in which nuclear reaction stops, cooling occurs, and the reactor is maintained under normal temperature and pressure for a long time for periodic inspections, you know. Yeah. This week the staff of the plant revealed signs of leaks in the piping part of the steam generator number 3 of the fourth block, or N.3, or yeah, in the fourth block. I think it was in the fourth reactor. In this context, it was decided to transfer the plant from the reactor of the block to the cold shutdown state, the reactor number 4, right? At the same time, it became known that in order to meet the steam requirements for ZMVP, the issue of transferring the 6 power unit hot down state is under consideration. Right, so he's saying that it transferred it and now they're considering it. So this guy, he just doubled down on his own words. And that's what people sometimes, they don't read what the fuck they're saying. He just said that they had transferred it, but now they're considering transferring it. Great job, dude. Either they have done it or they haven't. I don't know. They're considering it or they have done it, you know. They obviously need to do it, because if they don't do it, there won't be any heating for the people at the plant. But, alright. Leakage. There was a leakage. Now, it didn't state nuclear leakage or radiation leakage. It stated that there was a leak, and I retained my idea of the fact that it may have been a radiation sort of leak, but yeah, and in the piping line, but in all aspects, if they're now able to conduct repairs, we'll keep an eye on it. Oh, the S-bus is up again. Yep. Special Flight Squadron. We have a Minister of the Emergency Situation and a Special Flight Squadron. This is the thing with the antenna on top. It's up again. It just landed and it's up again. And Antonov, this is a cargo plane. I think. Transport cargo plane. It's up again. I've never seen this amount of air activity over Russia, and I've never seen the special flights. I mean, I haven't seen that for a very long time. What's weirding me out is the fact that it landed and it took off again. I think it's the same plane. It has to be the same plane. But yeah, it landed and took off again. I mean, went down to just refuel. We're flying all around all day. This guy, she's very slow. Apparently still flying. A little bit of a slow guy. Not the most efficient, fast guy, but still there. I've never seen that amount of air activity. When it comes to Russia, the amount of air activity that actually goes on, well, military-wise, is actually very fucking limited. There's an Antonov AN-124-100 in the USA, in US, probably Ukrainian, maybe. Well, Azerbaijan also operates those, and somewhat of the other Middle Eastern or Caspian or Black Sea, I don't know. There's a Doomsday plane up as well now, guys. There's this Doomsday plane next to the river joint. Boeing RC-135 Strat. Well, it actually says it's a tanker, but the image of it is actually it is a river joint, but yeah, it's called Cobra, and we got the Doomsday plane next to it. United States Doomsday plane. Air Force 1 and 2, I think, has landed. I think. Or it's very close to landing. Yeah, they have landed. Air Force 1 and 2 is down. Well, not down like that. They're down on the ground. Well, you know what I'm saying. They're in working condition and on the ground because they have landed the plane. They successfully did their job. You think you gotta be like really, really, good at flying or specially selected to fly the Air Force One, probably. You think that? You think you gotta be maybe you gotta be like a special select to fly those. Look at that, guys. Doomsday plane, motherfuckers. Look at that. Jeez. This right here is what arouses. Well, no, sorry, not arouses. Sometimes my English, I get to use the wrong words sometimes. Doesn't arouse. That's not what I meant to say. It is what interests. You get it. It interests me. It's interesting. So I'm gonna. What's that? Is that soldiers? Is that soldiers? That's it. What's that? Is that go? Oh, okay. It looked like somebody with a military pants on. It's the York shop. It's in occupied territory of Russia. You wouldn't think a war was going on watching that, would you? I mean, it's really weird. What's going on there? Odessa turned on as well now. The special purpose aircraft, the Tu-214PU, is up tonight. No, not tonight. Sorry. I won't leave it up tonight. I'm sorry. I have to use it for something, but then tomorrow I will. Yeah. I also start to think about going live in the mornings. I think when I wake up, I will turn on the stream and then I'll just leave it up, just for live in the mornings. Yeah, I'll probably do that, but not tonight. Sorry, special purpose aircraft controlling pinpoint point equipped with a special onboard communication unit S-Bus 214 intended for the Minister of Defense of Russia. The aircraft is built with Russian-made components only, meeting the requirements of the state customers, has a range of at least 7,200 kilometers or 4,500 miles. So we have a plane that's for the Russian Ministry of Defense, Russian Minister for Emergency Situations. We have that plane up, right? And we also have then a plane that's intended for such situations for the Ministry of Defense. Are they launching a attack, or are they doing something stupid? Why are they doing something stupid? I have no idea. Well, actually, I'll give you the wind patterns here. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. It's just been incredibly quiet, hasn't it? I mean, I feel like the only exciting thing we had now was those pictures. Was those attack in Crimea, right? Other than that, guys, I mean, we've heard explosions, we've heard all that, but anything like big news time, just heard nothing. We're also seeing, the air today is perfect. Look at that. Russia wants to do something stupid. Today would be a great day to do it, wouldn't it? Straight over parts of Turkey and Constantinople, or whatever it's called, down towards Romania, Moldova, just over Eastern Europe, just down towards the Baltics, Poland, Belarus, of course, being attacked as well, but then it would go directly over and be catched in and still Yeah, that's also one of the reasons I don't leave them up all the time motion, because when there's not a lot of people, people can really just come in here and say whatever they want, and I just have like, when you go live, it's like, oh yeah, sure, you go live, right, and you sit here and you can talk and all that stuff. I just feel like it's a lot more nice, and it's a lot more, it's kind of a thing, it's much more um, entertaining for everybody. I get, want people wanting to watch the cameras and all that, but watching I feel like watching somebody talk is much better and having an actual good time, but yeah. Can I turn the chat off? No, I don't think so. I mean, I could probably turn it on. Probably turn it on something else. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to deactivate a chat, but I don't know. Yeah, sure. Deactivating a chat would be something. Well, I just haven't seen other people do it, so I don't know. Well, maybe you weren't there, Spidey. They just said that there was something, but I don't know. I wasn't there. I was sleeping. How you doing, Spidey? I hope you're doing awful. That was funny, right? Because you were expecting me to say, I hope you're doing good. And I said, I hope you're doing awful. Because that's, double entendre. It's funny. Appears that the missile threat still somewhat looming, but it could be over. Tiny bit. Whoa. Oh, I'm doing amazing. I'm doing absolutely counter fucking duper boba. I'm crazy. Yeah, I said a lot of things this stream, Spidey. So if you want to watch a lot of the other, you might have to rewind a bit. I couldn't possibly sum up all the things I've talked about this stream. Hold on, go back. You probably hear me, or stay. Doesn't really matter, does it? Well, yeah, it matters. Of course, it matters. I was thinking, how many? No, you guys don't do that. Yeah, no, never mind. Never mind. It doesn't matter. Okay. All right. See you later, Ocean. Thanks for being here. Ew. What? Oh, yeah. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Do you have? Do you want to build a snowman? Do you want it to be cool? There's so much of it, and I really think it's cool. Do you want to build a snowman? There's so much of it, it's so cool. Do you want to build a snowman? Oh yeah, it's so fucking cool. Yeah, it's a fucking snowman. I'm also, nowadays, as I've gone live all these other times, right? I've not had one video taken down or gotten copyright claimed. Literally not one of the videos I've made. Some have been claimed by others, but every time it's been claimed, there's been somebody, the person who claimed it has actually left and said, that it was okay that I used it. So every single video I've made, no, disclaiming, no anything whatsoever. Which is cool, all to now we've not had one. I think when or if I get monetized, which would mean I would make money on it, my levels of demonetization, and stuff like that would probably increase, and they would probably start watching me a lot more. But yeah, it's that's a cross I'll have to bear when we get to it. We'll take that when we get to it, which is, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, won't we? I am, in fact, very squeaky clean. What's your name? Named Squeaky. Squeaky clean. It's your name. I want to be the next James Bond. I think that I have every quality that requires me to be the next James Bond. I am not British. I am nowhere near hot enough or have good enough acting skills. But what I do have, what I think they need to have me, is because I have a very clean record, and that's obviously very important when it comes to war, to a movie. So vote for me, James Bond. Actually, I've looked into it. Apparently, that guy Henry Cavill, that guy who played Superman and Witcher and all that stuff. I say it like I don't know him and I don't like him. I really do like the man. I think he's a great actor. I really like him. He's a really great actor. But yeah, he apparently they're talking about him being the next James Bond, which I'm up for. I mean, I've emptied out my tank of things to talk about. I have done things today, and we've talked about a lot of things. A lot of things. I feel like we've gotten over what I wanted to get over. Most news programs are only half an hour long, 20 minutes top. I do 3 hours of talk. That's pretty impressive, I would say. I literally do 3 hours of constant talk, which is, yeah, you gotta give me credit. Trying to up my own ego. just every way possible. Sobbing my own ego as we're going along. Agreed. Maui wildfires. 2 people take refugees in a pool as vacation condos burn. Wildfires all over the world as well. You know, this is one of the things we've also been talking about. Army airlifts hundreds to safety from Canadian wildfires. So they're still raging. I mean, I haven't heard much to it. Harrison Ford has a Peruvian snake species named after him. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, that's, you know. Yeah. Canadian wildfires. Let's look into that. I haven't kept my eye on it for a while, but I try and keep my eye on it. Yeah. Canadian Armed Forces members mobilized in Northwestern Territory to help battle wildfire. They're literally mobilizing troops as we're talking. Canadian military response to wildfire threatening the Northeastern Territory of airlifting residents to safety. Right. Canadian cities declares a state of emergencies due to wildfires. It's like it's as if you were looking at a picture of the time London burned. You know, this is as if you were looking at a time of a picture of like when London burned down. There was a fire in London many years ago. You know, one of the many things that happened throughout history. And it was like, oh, what was that? Oh, it's a fire. You know, and it's the same London weren't burned down with this massive fire. It looks the exact same thing, you know, and it's still ongoing. You know? The amount of smoke being propelled into the air, it's not healthy because it's going all over the fucking world, you know? All over the fucking world. Our planet is becoming a fucking wildfire fest show. And we're having this thing is not going anywhere. It's not going into the atmosphere. It goes into the fucking atmosphere, but it goes all over the fucking world. What happens when a volcano goes off? You think that's healthy to breathe? It goes all over the fucking world. It's the same thing here. You know, the level of fire here is probably equivalent to a fucking volcano. Not far from 1,000 feet was cool to see since I missed the last time. It will be interesting to see the analyze the result of our recently polluted skies from the Canadian wildfires. Now people are claiming that this is all Canadian trying to, you know, pollute our skies. They're literally airlifting, you know, a lot of people out of the areas. These wildfires. The carbon emission alone is quite huge, probably. That's crazy. Fuck. I mean, it's still raging. I don't know. I thought they had it under control because I hadn't heard so much about it. I think that's one of our problems in this world that we just, you know, we read about one thing and then we forget about it immediately. You know, eventually we just forget about it because, you know, we read about it and then, you know, it's happening and then it's just an everyday thing. Uh, North Korea's statement, what? North Korea says U.S. soldiers crossed into its territory because of discrimination. Alright. I mean, the North Koreans obviously are stating and saying a lot, you know? And they're obviously riding on this mild high that they're, temporary high that the U.S. soldier went into North Korea. Now, North Korea says that U.S. soldier intruded into the North Korea because, into the North because he was delusion at the inequality of American society. And he thought going to North Korea would be a better choice. Right. Because and also, this guy right here, for example, North Korea is widely known as the most equal society in the whole human history. Right? VC 135 is up central, outside Nebraska. Are you talking about the Doomsday plane? I've seen that. You talk the W? Are you sure? You sure you don't mean RC? You sure you mean VC? Oh, VC. What's that? Doomsday plane. I know the Doomsday plane was up. You're talking about a VZ. Alright, there's an RC in the area as well. I know that as well. There's a RC. But the VC, the nuke sniffer, or the E6. Right. Oh, well, no, the RC for the Cobra is not. The Cobra was. It's called Cobra, but supposedly it's just a river joint. I'm not, Yeah. Another Russian flight taking off from China. Yeah, it says Cobra, but it's not. It's not a Cobra. It's a river joint, but you sure it's the fucking. Oh, there it is. Right. Oh, Boeing VC. Right, there it is. Was another one in the area before. I thought you were talking about that one. I thought you were talking about the RC. All right, the VC. Fair enough. God damn it. All aggressive all of a sudden. It's the fucking VC, not the fucking RC, you fucking asshole. Come on. Gets all aggressive all of a sudden. No, you didn't. My bad. I thought you were talking about the RC, and you just kept saying VCs. I was like, what are you talking about? It's RC. No. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's the all right. The VC, the WC, the VC. Yeah, it's obviously not called. It's called WC, but we're gonna call it VC because I don't want to say WC every time. Could call it the VC. You know, the nuke sniffer, the Phoenix. Fair enough. Thank you, Spider. I didn't know. I'm talking about the RC. Fair enough. We also got the AVAC, Australian AVAC system in Alaska. So that one. So I thought that you were talking about this one, the RC, which is right there, but there's a new VC now, which is right there. So why you were talking about this one? Fair enough. Oh, the VC, that's a nuke sniffer. I mean, they do fly around, but it's not often. Not every day. We had 2 P-8s earlier, just outside Japan and inside Japan. Special Russian flight squadrons and special Russian planes. Something's happening. I can't say to the factor that something's happening, but I think they're doing something. Probably training, but they're doing something. Nuclear war is imminent. North Korea. Yeah. Jackson Hickel. Right. Right. Russia is using North Korean munition. We knew that. But look at the North Korean munition. Look. Just take a look at the North Korean munition right there. Take a look at it. I mean, look at that. The dots on that as well. Look at that in between there. Just rotted. It's rotten. That's completely rusty right there, and that's not even used. All of these, look at that. Just see how old it is. It's literally old as fuck. It has stents in it. You know, you can see where it's been punched up from years of moving and transporting, right? Wow. I mean, it's just incredible that the Russians are at that low amount of standards. Russia purchased it's counterfeit, yeah. Russia purchases of weapons from North Korea would violate a number of the United Nations resolutions, was stated by the Speaker of the U.S. State Department, Vedant Patel, reports The Guardian. He also said that the United States had information about Russia plans to expand military cooperation with North Korea. Yeah. They also plans to do it with China. So that's set, right? The whole world's gone, right? Yeah, I mean, most of what the North Koreans got, they've got a lot of it, but most of it is literally from 1915. Not 15, 50. 1950. I'm sure there's also something from 1950. It's either Japanese from Second World War, or it's Chinese. It's Soviet Cold War. 1950s. Shells and everything. Like, it's all stockpiled from the 1950s and up. And obviously, them having a weapons manufacturer does mean that they are capable of making some of their own, right? Now, it's a weird day for Russian air activity. Because I've never, in my life, seen a fucking Mi-8 MTV-1. Welcome back, would you? The most common role is a transport helicopter, the The Mi-8 is also used as an airborne command post, armed gunship, and reconnaissance platform, along with the later more powerful Mi-17. The Mi-8 is among the world's most produced helicopter, used by over 50 countries. So we have a Russian plane in China taking off, as cargo plane taking off from China. We have another cargo or transport taking off here. We have a special flight squadron, that's a strategic command, and a Russian Minister of Emergency Situation flight also in the air, alongside Forte 12, a fucking nuke sniffer. Not that one. A VC Phoenix nuke sniffer. Thanks to Spidey for reporting that. A Doomsday plane, a bunch of P-8s, and 2 P-8s just in Japan alone. Yeah, I mean, either they're doing a lot of exercising or they've spotted something. Because that's a lot of air activity for the Russians. And I barely see any air activity. Some days I've literally gone by not seeing one plane. And usually the planes we see over Russia is cargo planes of some sort. Or Airbuses. I've seen a lot of Airbuses going around. I've seen one in particular Airbus flying back and forth from Russia. Like literally back and forward, you know. It always lands right at where the North Korea and Russia meets, which means that's probably where they're also getting their stuff from, you know. They're probably using the Airbuses to store that. Two Merlins, a lot of air activity over the UK as well. Some choppers up there as well. Some French military Airbus. Not so that right there, guys. It means that they might be doing something. Although, again, I've stated this before, the Chinese defense minister is literally in the country as we're talking, so I highly doubt that they're doing something. But I think what we could be seeing now is them maybe doing the big push for getting stuff or something, you know? Yeah, I really think they're sneaky, right? U.S. says Russia arm deals with North Korea would violate UN resolutions. Like the North Koreans give a fuck about the UN. I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't get why the fuck we have the UN Peace Resolution Corps. What the fuck is that even thing? Because nobody fucking listens to them. They go up to a country, they say, you can't legally declare war. What if we do declare war? In reality, we are not gonna do anything about it. This is, you know, imagine, you know, North Korea, right? He goes, this is Kim, right? Walking in, all cool, leading, you know, he's the leader, right?
전노동당 총비사이시며 조선민주주의인민공화국 국무위원장이신 경애하는 김종은 동지께서
Look at them clap for their fucking lives.
회의를 사비하셨습니다.
Clap for their fucking lives. That guy, holy fucking shit, that guy's clapping. He sits down. They're still clapping. The first one to stop clapping? I mean, they once did it. Stalin once had a bunch of people in a room. He came in, and they started clapping, right? And nobody would stop clapping until somebody was sat down because they were afraid to get killed. If they stopped clapping, the possibility of Stalin killing you would be actually be possible. So once there was this conference when Stalin he was there, and then he started Stalin. People started clapping and clapping. Then Stalin he came up. You know, he didn't tell him to stop clapping, but then one German factory owner sat down. I think it was, or yeah, German or Russian or whatever, right? Sat down, stopped clapping. Everybody then was, you know, able to sit down and relaxed and sat down. And then they literally killed that one German or Russian factory owner because he was the first one to stop clapping. And that's also gives you a sense of just how fucking crazy Stalin was, you know. But North Korea, same fucking thing. Also, this is, I sometimes, when you want that, when you know it's fake as shit, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this is, okay, so this is when North Korea also meets with China, you know, but this is one of the things here. Well, take a look at Xi Jinping, right? He always looks as if he's high as fuck, or if he really, he looks very relaxed, which is one thing about him. Yeah, he just looked very relaxed at every point. But he also looks like he just stands there, tired as hell. Somebody had to literally hold him up in the back. Because he looks like somebody who just wants to lay down and sleep. He does that. There he goes. Me. Everything.
중국공산당 중앙위원회 총석이이며 중화인민공화국 주석이며 중앙군사위원회 주석인 스푼평 동지와 백려원 여사가 따뜻이 맞이했습니다.
That right there, right? That girl right there? Look at her walk in. First of all, right? Look at her walk in. This is how scared they are of their fucking lives. Oh, I don't know. I cannot step wrong. She literally steps to the right. She falls. She does anything embarrassing. You know she's done. Labor work. Right? Labor fucking work. That's his wife. That's the Chinese. He looks so tired. I don't know why did you see that? That right there. Nope. No, not shaking hands. You probably didn't see it, right? But he saw it. Kim saw it. Didn't even tell his wife it happened. He looks so unhuman, don't they? They're like some couple of those these hold hands, but they don't do that. They hold their hands for themselves. Oh, there's air rates in the back, and maybe I'll clear one. So just analyzing these guys, you know, you have to sometimes look at these guys to understand how they are, right? Kim, I mean, Trump described Kim as very smart. Take a look at that guy right there, walking through the scene. Would you look at him and think, oh yeah, that's a very intelligent man right there. That right there is a very intelligent man. Yeah, no, I think he looks cross-eyed as well, you know? I mean, listen, the Chinese guy, you know, Xi Jinping, he's not the most idiotic person I know, but there are air raid alerts. Take a look at after. But the funny thing is, I think the video is dubbed over the video. But if it was in North Korea, right? They would be forced. Also, they do that in China as well.
경의하는 최고領導者동지께서는 북대청에 들어서시어 중국의 당과 정부 간부들과 일일이 악수를 하시며 인사를 나누셨습니다.
Imagine shaking that man's hand. literally knowing that he was a mass murderer. Like, it's shaking hands with Putin. I could never get myself to do that. Alright, I go shake hand with this guy.
스푼형 동지가 우리 당과 정부의 지도 간부들과 악수를 하며 인사를 나누었습니다.
Mao. I shake hands with you. Yes, and then I shake hands with you. I have no idea who you are. I go shake hands with you. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea who you are.
경의하는 최고 용도자 김.
Yeah, we have our core of women. North Korea, and then North Korea is like, oh yes, I also have that.
스푼형 동지가 단상에 오르시자 애국가와 중화인민공화국 국가가 장중하게 조악됐습니다.
These guys, they're, you know, I mean, that's what he does. You know, he will be staring every person down in that video, or you know, you could see him. Every person that would be shaking or doing anything with anybody, right? He'd be literally vividly looking at them, just knowing if they did something wrong, or you know, just like the tiny bit of slight of wrong. You know, it's like comes along with Putin. Yeah, I mean, listen. You look at Putin and you think he may be an intelligent man. But in reality, he's just a very schizophrenic, right? The whole area turning on right now. Take a look at both of those guys. I mean, I just think it's amazing that in this world, we have two people like that that are even remotely able to have leadership, right? Like it's Premier Narendra Modi arrives in Lokashapni. PM will speak on the North Korean confidence motion in Lok Sampo.
경의하는 김종은 동지께서 회의를
Yes. Like it's so like imagine having to clap so fucking much, you know. I mean it's, and he looks around the room and he sees anybody who doesn't clap hard enough, who doesn't do like any of that, you know. Yeah. Cray, 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 cray. Now we got air raid system turning on now. Air sirens going on, off. Oh. Hey. This is typical of a man. I want to show you just the humanation of what a man is. A man, he can be tough, he can be a war leader, he can go to war, he can do anything. But when there is a cat, a dog that lays down and does something cute, it doesn't stop the most toughest of men. This man right here, you think that's a tough guy right there. These guys right here, they look a bit more tough, right? What doesn't stop the toughest of the biggest of the ballsiest guys to have a little smile when a cat does something cute? Doesn't matter how manly you are. I got a dog myself. No matter how manly I get, when a dog does something cute, you know it's cute. You know, you never get too manly to think that a cat or a dog doing something cute is cute. It's not wrong to think it's cute. It's fucking cute. And by the way, you know, I'm allergic to cats, but I do like dogs a lot. I fucking love dogs. I mean, I really love them. I had on a dog myself. He's a boxer. He's one hell of a legend. I can give you that much. He's a legend in my eyes. He may be, in some people's eyes, he may be just a hunk of meat, but for me, I'd kill. I'd fucking kill somebody. You know, I would kill anybody, you know, to try to hurt that dog. And don't you say aw to me. That's too much. It's too much. That's too cute. No. No, but look, it's true, you know. He's a legend. No, he is a legend. I'll tell you that much. But in reality, you know, it's true that no man will ever get tough enough. You see the toughest of the toughest biker dudes, and then they have a dog that's like a small dog, and it comes around. Oh, you got a boxer too? Yeah. They're nice dogs. But I tell you what, right? You got a big biker dude. He comes around. He got a little chihuahua with him, right? Everybody thinks he's got to have a pit bull. Yeah, it's chihuahua. Look at the way he treats that chihuahua. You think that biker dude be like a big tough motherfucker? He comes down with that chihuahua. He treats it as if it was a fucking princess. Like it's no, but it's true. You know, every man has a hard spot. Isn't it? It's true. It's true. Yeah. People tell me, Emil, you don't know anything about this world. You're so young. I tell. Oh, this is that. Listen. Boom. Yeah, that was definitely an explosion back there. I heard that. And people tell me I don't know this world. This right here, if it goes on for this long, it's turning on, you know. And people tell me, you don't know the world. And I say, you don't have to be a genius to understand people. People do different things in different kind of ways. You really don't have to be a genius to understand people. You know, people always go like, oh, how can, you know, a lot of people try to avoid people who, like, for example, the guy I don't look after him. I just talk to him once in a while because he has mental health issues. I mean, he has people talking to him in his head. On paper, he's crazy, right? Everybody else dismisses him, but in reality, he's not crazy. I mean, yeah, he has voices in his head. It's a medical condition. He can't get rid of it. It's not a violent one. I mean, he has never killed anybody. He's on disability leaves and he lives a normal life, right? Whenever somebody says I have voices in my head, people usually turn the other way, you know. But it's like because we in reality don't want to deal with these people because we think that we'll just leave that to somebody else. And I think that's the core issue. You know, if every person nowadays and every person from now on will always go, I'll just leave that for another person or somebody else, you know, that eventually come along to take care of this guy. Eventually, we're gonna run out of mental health care takers or elderly people to get care of sick people. You know, mentally ill people. You know, eventually we'll run out of people. If everybody continues to go on and say, like, I don't want to do that job or I don't want to, you know, look after that. I'll leave that to other people. In reality, eventually we're gonna run out. You know, too young, so autistic. Tell you what, you know, we have a great school system in Denmark, you know, but the way that our school system also looks at children, and I can imagine it's the same in the U.S. The way we look at autistic people and people with mental health issues or people who aren't off the book, right? I mean, imagine that people always have to be off the book when they're autistic. I mean, autistic comes in many, many different ways, you know. And we have people who are supposed to look after these, you know, kids with special needs. But then we go ahead and we say that we have to normalize them. What do you mean by normalizing them? You know, go around putting them into the classes as to where they can't figure out how to be. And then when you realize, oh, they can't be there, because in reality we're trying to normalize them, you know. They have to be normalized. What they have to have is proper frames, proper ability, so they can have a school life. I've said it before, you know. I said it to people in the government. I've told people in the government as well, you know. And you have homeschool, and I don't wish that on anybody to have to teach their children at home. Well, you know, that's a controversy because, of course, if you want to teach your kids at home, that's up to you. I mean, nobody can stop you from doing that, and that's all right, you know. And there should also be room for that. But I also happen to think that one of my solutions, which I told them, was, why don't you just build a big school with proper means, with proper funding, and with proper people to be able to help these kids get a normal school life with and along other kids that have the same or similar conditions as those kids, and try and see if that doesn't work. Oh, you didn't plan on it? Oh, fair enough. So if there was a school system about that, you would want them in the school, I see. Oh, fair enough. When there are proper frames, you know, probably taken care of. And oh shit, look at that, guys. Odessa region, shelling reported, explosions in the region. We don't know exactly where, but apparently probably one of those ports, I would imagine. I just heard another here. But I told them when I met one of them, and I met them in the government, and I said, I just don't understand why you throw a lot of money into the public school systems and the public schools, and you give them barely enough money to run these classes, you know, for special ed children. Instead of just making one big school, say, you know, this is school, we give them proper means, we give them properly taught, you know, top teachers who want to work with us, who knows what they're doing, and put that into perspective, and then give them a proper, you know, sort of school life that they can use to move on, to move into a proper life, school life in general, jobs. Because we're dismissing a big workforce. They may not be able to do those jobs that we consider the big jobs, but in reality, they could probably be able to do many jobs. It doesn't have to be always. We won't always have to dismiss them, you know. I think we dismiss them a lot because we unnecessarily put them in boxes and say this is where you have to be. And I don't like putting anybody in a box, but in reality, putting them somewhere and say this is where, you know, you can grow and you can have children who are just like you. You know, who are just like you, and we can give you proper help here. Maybe give it a try, you know. But that's also the issue. Well, you know, while I'm sure that there are schools dedicated towards problems, then we get another issue. Then they cost a lot of money. It's the same thing in Denmark. Then usually they're private schools. But I'm talking about a big public school that's, by the way, free. You know. I still hear explosions in the background here. I'm gonna be honest. I'm still hearing massive explosion sounds or something in the background here. And wouldn't that be a miracle? A properly funded public school system, and a school that would take proper care of children with special needs. Isn't that the dream? But with the current politicians we have now, they would rather want to focus on giving the school system barely enough money to survive, just so they can say that we did give them money. And it's their fault that they're not doing good enough. You know? Well, sometimes people also tell me, you're living in a dream world. And I say, no, I think I'm living in a world that people would want to live in. And maybe sometimes it's ridiculous, and maybe sometimes you just gotta say it sometimes, and you gotta give him the go ahead for it, you know. You just gotta do it sometimes. Get the ball spinning. Figure something out. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but you know, there must be something we can do instead of dismissing the idea behind giving them proper care. And then people also tell me, but then we're labeling people. You're telling me that if I went out to a parent who have a special need child, and I told them I can put them in this school for free, with proper care, proper systems, and a proper school so they can go out there and after the school system have a proper life with a proper job and a proper life, right? You're telling me that said parent would be afraid for labeling your child. And I'd say probably there are some parents that would be, because some parents have it hard accepting that their child is special. And that's another factor for another time. But I really doubt that there would be any parents out there that would go, ooh, I don't want that. Free, properly taking care of my child? Why would I want that? That's labeling. And I want to stop that at all cost. No, that's not how it works. But people want that. Sometimes the most controversial things to say out loud, you know, one of those things about labeling the children, being special need children, it's one of those things that you just need to breach that barrier and get it going, get it into motion, you know. I think it's easier than they make it. It really is. Yeah, you would jump on that, and you're a parent with 2 special need children. So I've suggested it to them before, you know. And then they always, what the same old saying every time is. It's the same saying every time, and it doesn't change. Yeah, sure, we'll think about it. It sounds like a good idea, but we probably have better systems set in place because we, the politicians, are probably smarter and have better people to take care of this, and we probably know better. That's not what they say. In reality, they say, thank you for your submission. But in reality, what they're saying is, I'm an adult, I know exactly, and I know better than you. I've been here for a long time, and I know exactly, and I know better than you. You know? You don't say that, but that's what comes out of their mouths. You know, they always think that just because you're a politician doesn't mean that you know better than the average person. It just means that daddy had a little bit more money. You know? In the US, if you're a politician nowadays, and you're a young politician, it usually means that your daddy had a little bit more money than Kennedy down the street, who would have made a great president, right? Or a great politician. But he didn't have enough money to be put into that area. No. The only person who had enough money was you. Did you graduate at the top of your class? No, you came last in your class, but you still have enough money to become a politician, so it doesn't matter. Your dad will take care of it. It's great stuff. Great system. It sucks. An institution that would give children with special needs the idea of a real school life that wouldn't necessarily label them, but necessarily give them a chance at a good school life. How awful! How dare you! How dare you do that? Right? So, all right. Well, I'm gonna jump off stream now. It's been about 3.5 hours here. So, thank you for tuning in on the streams here. I get very political sometimes when it gets later in the night. But I'll see you guys tomorrow with another stream, of course, because we are live, like always. If you do see anything, do write to me or retweet me. Sorry, quote me in a tweet if you see something. My Twitter is in the description, so you want to go follow, you want to retweet, or if you see any tweets, please do throw them at me. I'll be happy to take a look. And yeah, we'll keep the system updated, and we'll keep you guys updated. So have an amazing night. I will be back tomorrow. Goodbye. You know you will. Yeah. I know Witchy will throw me about 26 at night while I sleep. It's a good thing I turned my phone off. Well, not off, but it's a good thing I turned my phone on soundless, because and Witchy would just blow up my phone. Ding 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 ding. Yeah, no. I'll see you later.